Hello and welcome back to the channel. I hope you all had a great Christmas and a happy holiday. In a recent video, I missed an easy tactic that a lot of you pointed out. So today, I'm curing my blunders with 50 puzzles. The puzzles can be rated anything between 0 ELO and 2500 ELO, and we won't stop until we've completed 50 puzzles. Before we get started, I want to thank those of you who left a super thanks on my previous video. That was a very, very nice gesture. I also want to thank everybody who left a Merry Christmas or a Happy Holidays, and I hope you guys enjoyed your holidays as well. With that, let's dive into my puzzle bootcamp. I'll talk through my process as usual. Queen to g4, and whenever I do these puzzles, I like to look for checks, captures, and attacks. Checks meaning any legal checks on the board, for example, queen to h1. Captures meaning any legal captures, and attacks meaning any threats. Now, usually we look for realistic moves, so something like queen to h1 is less likely to be a check that I look at, and something like queen to e5 is a much more likely check for me to look at. Let's see, checks, captures, and attacks. We'll start with queen to e5. Bishop to f4 doesn't work because we can just recapture the piece. We have too many attackers. Queen to g3 is interesting, and I don't see how I would follow that up. We have this really interesting theme. We can play rook to f1. The idea is if something like check, king moves out of the way, and it's unclear how he's going to stop rook to h1 checkmate. So I'll play that, rook to f1. This is a threat, so this wouldn't be a check or a capture. This is a threat that we created. We get a queen sacrifice and we'll just recapture. We get another sacrifice we'll take again, and we're in a completely winning endgame now. All right, we started rating 1900, which is actually pretty high. All right, we have a king in the center of the board. Right away, I'm looking for checkmate. I mean, read the title of the channel, queen to h5 check. King moves out of the way, and checkmate. Boom, easy peasy, 2 down, 98 more to go. We get pawn to f3. Again, the king is in the center of the board, and he's moved, unfortunately, Freddy the f-pawn, and we're not supposed to move Freddy the f-pawn because these horrible checks can happen, and then captures, and then the rook is mine. All right, rated 800, and honestly, this is a super popular theme. You move the pawn up, I come in with check, and the knight in the middle takes that g3 pawn because it's pinned to the rook. All right, we have knight to f5 check. So we have to respond to check. Check is forcing, obviously. And right away, I'm looking at captures. And the reason I'm looking at captures is that after pawn takes, we have knight to f3. These two pieces are on the same colored square. So right away, I'm looking to see if I can fork them, and I can. So check. Ooh, he played that pretty quick. If he had taken with the pawn, I would have played knight to f3, picking up the rook with the knight. But instead, he recaptured with the king, so I'll pick up the rook for free. Nice. Rook takes g4, removing the guard of the h7 pawn. Right away, I'm looking at check. King moves out of the way, check, and diving in with checkmate with the queen. Contact checkmate with support. Contact being because the piece giving check is right next to the king, and in this case, the rook is the supporting piece. Favorite kind of checkmate because it only takes 2 pieces. You start off with 16, but you only need 2 to create contact checkmate with support. We'll probably see that again, so I'll mention it again. We get king to f5, 2 pieces on the same file. Suspicious. Rook to g5 check. Picks up a free rook. Yay. f7 is challenging, but we have rook to b8 and then king to g7. Rook to b8. How is that wrong? Oh, because we can't stop both pawns. Whoops. So what was the move here? King to g7? King to e7, and we have check. I see. So king to g7. The move order was wrong, right? Because if we had, well, we did play rook to b8, then king to e7, king to g7, and then h6. And there's no way for us to stop both of these pawns, even though we have a king and a rook. Oh, that's kind of a bummer. We learned something new, though. Be careful with move order. All right, rook takes h7. This king is butt naked, missing 2 pieces of its normal castle position. So I'm right away looking at check. King to g2, bishop to f1. King up, check. There's got to be some kind of checkmate here. Where is it? Bishop h3? Not quite, but it's close enough that I'll calculate it a little bit. So I'm thinking check. King here is forced. Check. The king can't move to either of these squares because we remove the bishop that covers g2, and the rook gives check on the back rank, being checkmate. So after these 2 checks, the king has to move to f3. The question is, how do we checkmate him if he's waltzing towards the center? I just realized this might not be checkmate at all, and we might just be looking for a way to win the rook. Because if I give this check, the king moves up, we give another check, King moves up again. Rook to d3 forces the king to either of these squares, and I don't really care where he moves because I'm going to play knight to f6 and pick up the rook. So I think that's the solution. I think we're actually playing for a rook here, and we were in fact just playing for a rook, which is a little bit tricky because you bring the king this far out and you're thinking, I need to finish him off. But it turns out we're just dragging him out so we can put him in a position to get forked. Rook to c7. What happened here? Nothing good, clearly. But we have a super interesting mating idea. We have knight to e7. We can sack the rook. This knight protects these two squares. The pawn covers g2. We dive in with the queen, and it's almost like a back rank mate, but on the side of the board. Check. We're 8 puzzles deep now. King is exposed, so I'm looking for a way to take advantage of that. Check. King here. Check. King here. And I pick up the rook with check, and then I'm up a piece. Maybe king to f7 after. Queen takes. Not really the best position I've seen in my life. But I'm not going to checkmate him with just my queen, so it has to be that. Check. And I pick up the rook. Nice. This is a perfect example of contact checkmate with support. In this case, the bishop is the supporting piece. The queen is the one that's going to be in contact with the king. And we give mate. Nice. King to b1. This is the kind of position that makes you wonder which way the pawns go all of a sudden. But this pawn is actually about to promote. Which it can't really do because we'd recapture with checkmate. So where's my tactic? What's the idea here? Wow, this is this is a lot of sequential moves. So check, and if the rook covers, we pick up the rook. So the king has to move. Check, again, if the rook covers, we pick up the rook. King moves again. We give another check, and we're walking him down slowly. The rook still can't cover because we'll pick up the rook. Another step for the king. We give another check. Same thing about the rook. So the king walks again. We finally get the kings in opposition, and then we can deliver checkmate. That's a lot of moves. We give check, check, rook covers, and we pick up the rook. Nice. We went by it really quick, but the theme on that puzzle was simple, which I think is funny. I've never heard of the theme simple before. Okay, again, we're on top of the king. It looks like there should be some really good threats here for us. Question is, what are they? I'm thinking we're supposed to remove the guard because this is immediately checkmate. The problem is the knight defends that square. The other problem is I don't have a way to get to that knight right away. But what I can do is move the pawn out of the way with this capture. So I imagine I take, okay, very nice. And he ignores it altogether because he knows that if I take this knight, it's all over on h7. So we get h6 instead. I wonder if I can remove the guard again. Because if I take this pawn, takes, oh no, I can't take and fork if my knight isn't even on the board anymore. Okay, that's a bit of a silly idea. Maybe I can just take on f7 so I can bring the queen to h6. And if the king takes the pawn on g6, maybe I just retreat the knight. I guess that makes some sense. So I'll take on f7. Nice, and we win the exchange. All right, this is our highest rated puzzle so far. 2100, almost 2200. Bishop to a3. This looks like forced checkmate somehow. Check. King moves out of the way. Can't interpose because it's checkmate right away. Check again, maybe. King moves back. Queen to f7. If the king moves to g8, again, queen to f7. So check, check, and mate. Contact checkmate with support, by the way. Contact because the piece giving check is in contact with the king, and then the rook is the supporting piece. Queen to e3. Are you just going to let me trap your queen here in a moment? Queen to e1 gets away. So it's not quite that simple. Rook to d3 check. The queen moves back. We sacrifice the rook just to open up the king side, and then we dive in with contact checkmate with support. So rook d3. E5 counters my idea. If I take, I don't think I win any material there. Check. Looks even. So can I play queen to f5 and just double down on my idea? Knight to h4. Queen to g4. I think I can. So I'll play that. Queen to f5. Nice. Okay, now the queen is under attack. Still takes doesn't win me anything because takes, I lose the rook. So queen g4. Nice. 2300. We're moving up in the world. We're 14 puzzles deep. This is going to take a hot second, I can already tell. Rook to f7. Free rook. Threaten checkmate. And then I guess the puzzle would be how not to get threefold checked over here. King to f1, check, here, check. Whoops, check. Can't happen because of the queen. So take with check is the only option. King here, check. Just sprinting around the board. Rook here. Looks like it could be the right idea. So I'm going to take. There's queen d4 check. And I think the point is that we have these two threats which are unstoppable at the same time. King to f1 looks most tempting, but also rook to f2 makes some sense. Because after check, rook to f1, check, king here. Looks pretty much unstoppable. Okay, the question is, why is one of those losing? Because you're not really going to find a puzzle where there's multiple winning variations. So one of those is wrong. The question is why? Rook to f2 looks more sound than king to f2, to be honest. King to f2, or what am I talking about? King to f1, I meant, sorry. King to f1, we run into check. King to f2, check. King to g3, check. Rook to f3. There's queen to d6. Okay, so I think rook to f2 is the right idea. There we go. Queen to g7. Jump back in with the x-ray defense on the rook. And checkmate. Very nice. Queen to d7. This check is right away very tempting because we have two squares the king can't move to. So the king has to walk away from the queen. And then how do we actually take advantage of that fact? Okay, I think the idea that I'm going to go with here is queen to h8 check to draw out the king. Queen to h7 forces the king back. And then queen to g8 would be checkmate. So after these two checks, the king has to move to e6. And then queen to g6 check, king to d5. Queen to d3. I think that's along the right idea. So we'll start with this check. Right, king to e6 is the critical move. Queen to h3 skewers the queen, knight covers these two squares. All right, it's always about figuring out how the pieces are supposed to interact. That was only rated 1900, very interesting. That's a pretty tricky puzzle for 1900. Okay, we get bishop d4. Right away, this bishop is not actually defended by anything because this pawn is pinned to the rook. So we take, and we're winning. King restricted by the rook, so we'll jump in with check and mate. Again, contact checkmate with support. The rook is protected by the knight, and it's in contact with the king. Another contact checkmate with support. Don't even have to overthink that one. It's crazy how we can jump from a puzzle that's like a real, head scratcher to like what's basically a glorified back rank mate, except it's on the side of the board. Bishop to c7. King is on f7 right away. Very interesting, very suspicious. What do I do about this? Whoa, this is crazy. It's really fun how whenever the king is involved, there's always some crazy idea. And here it looks like we can play knight to h6 check. There's no moves for the king other than the pawn taking the knight. And after that, we jump in with queen takes h7 mate. That's a 1200 rated puzzle. There's 1200 seeing knight sacrifices on h6. Oh, these 1200s are getting strong. All right, f6, which quote unquote creates an escape square, but not really because the knight covers it. What it really does is tries to remove the knight. But it looks like maybe we can jump in with check, king over, and then bishop to g8. Looks interesting. King takes. But I don't see where the queen jumps back in for checkmate. So what about check, king here, knight check? We drop the bishop, but we set up a discovered check and pick up the queen. So check, check, give me your queen, and moving right along. Pawn takes, exposing the king. Maybe we jump in with check. Maybe we jump in with check this way. That makes more sense. And then we jump in, and the rook supports the queen. I get another contact checkmate with support. Contact. There's our support. Only two pieces. All right, king on the side of the board, very common motif. Bishop covers g8. His own bishop covers g7. So we sacrifice the rook. We give another check. We take the bishop. And now we scratch our heads wondering why we thought this was checkmate. All right, where's the follow-up here? It's got to be somewhere here on the board. Maybe knight to e5? No, this bishop protects g6, so I don't think that's the right answer. We can sack the rook again. King takes, and then we dive in with the queen on h6 instead. where king g7 is no longer possible. Check, and funny enough, another contact checkmate with support. All right, pawn to a4. This looks suspiciously similar to the last problem. Maybe knight to h5, looking for knight to f6, takes, and we have the two rooks lasering down into the position. Play knight to h5. Knight to h5 was wrong. What was the answer? a4. Oh, just double the rooks and then g6. Ah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Yep, knight to h5 is just too slow because g6 maybe? Wait a minute. Why is knight to g5 too slow? Knight to h5. Oh, I guess just f6 and then the king just skedaddles away. No problem. All right, that's one that doesn't count for us. We get c5 on the board. Check. And mate. Very nice. Oh, it restarted our counter. Okay, but I can still keep track of how many puzzles we're at. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's 15 across. So I'll just keep an actual updated puzzle counter here on screen somewhere because this is not helpful to anybody. 15 by what? We need like 6 rows of puzzles. Wow, I got to get a move on this. This is taking a lot longer than I honestly thought it was going to take. I did set it up to 2,500. I kind of set myself up for it. All right, rook to c1. I guess I can take the bishop. Takes, rook takes, and then I promote. And then I pick up the rook after. Looks right. Nice. And give me my material. d2. Rook to e7 sets up checkmate. Rook to f7. Check. Rook to f8. Other rook down. That looks right. Okay, we get queen to b2 instead, defending the g7 pawn. So now how do we set up checkmate? Interpose with the other rook. Rock solid. Nice. Rook to f7. Okay, it's getting a little bit trickier by the minute. Oh, never mind. Takes. Right, and I was going to say if the king takes back, check. King up, queen e6, and then we have rook to h5 as checkmate. Okay, so queen sacrifice, we just take. Can't promote because queen takes g7 is mate. That was a 2,400 rated puzzle. I just saw it flash before my eyes. Pretty good, pretty good. All right, rook to c1. We have this check, which is pretty interesting. Anywhere the king moves, I guess I just dive in with my rook. Let's see, right away this check makes the most sense. King moves out of the way. I really do like the idea of diving in with my rook. King to g3. Where's my mate here? Check king here and takes. Okay, I'm not sure what the follow-up is, but this definitely looks like the right move. All right, there we go. Queen takes, we solved it, moving right along. King to c4. Check here. It's the first move that comes to mind because it's a forcing move. It's a check. But I don't know what I'm going to do after king to c3. Maybe it's check here, rook to e4, but then we walk into rook to g1, which is less than exciting. Holy smokes. Check here. Or rather, let me restart that. Check here. We sacrifice the queen, literally just to clear the way. And after the king takes rook to e4, king here, rook c4 is mate. Wow, that's such a sick tactic. This is the power of having the king in the middle of the board. I was only rated 1900. Dude, people really seeing these sacrifices? That's pretty strong if they are. Okay, rook takes a8. We're getting annihilated in terms of material, it looks like. This pawn is a little bit far advanced, which is promising. And then this rook is on the same diagonal as the king. So it looks like queen to b6 just wins the rook. Nice. 800. A lot of pieces to look for. Rook to f8 makes an escape square for the king. Maybe check. King here. And then hope the opponent resigns out of fear. Very likely, very likely. Oh no, we have check, and then we just pick up the free rook. Nice. Free rooks for the win. Pawn to b5. Endgame. Passed pawn, which is horrendous, but f5 might be winning here. Takes here. You're not going to catch me. So f5 is probably the only move in that position. And then we have the rule of the square, where if the king is not within the square of the pawn, you're never going to catch me. h6. Pinned pawn right away is super interesting. No pieces near the king, also interesting. Maybe we can play rook to d7, just threatening checkmate. Looks slow though. Check here. Kind of uncomfortable. This is either a really advanced puzzle or I'm blind as a bat, and some of you have already smashed your screens open looking at this puzzle. Queen is suspiciously in a corner, but again, that queen to a3 move is really annoying. Rook to d7 is the only move that makes sense to me here, so I'm going to play that. Okay, rook to d7 was right, and then we just pick up a free piece. Great. Queen to g3. Interestingly enough, knight takes d3 would remove the guard of the bishop, and it also doubles down on the bishop. Right away, that looks correct to me, so I'll take. Bishop to g5 I hadn't calculated. And this is what gets me in real games, is I forget to calculate intermediate moves like this. So I need to be more careful of, or more strict with myself, actually calculating all of the different possible variations, because in a game I won't know that it's a puzzle, and I won't be able to trust my intuition that just a random move that looks particularly good is correct. I'm going to assume that in this position we have some lucky defense that gets us out of this, and that chess.com isn't just torturing me with my mistakes. But the question is, what is it? Because we're definitely skewered. The knight is definitely still hanging. Queen to e5, bishop takes. Oh, then queen takes. Queen to e5. Trade queens drops the rook, which I shouldn't be happy about. Actually, we'd still be even at that point, which might be good enough. Queen to e5, takes, 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 takes. And I'm still up a pawn, which I guess is worth something. I guess pawns are worth something, maybe? I'm not sure. Somebody check, how much are pawns worth? 1/10 of a point? I can't remember. Bishop g5. Are pawns worth anything? Somebody cross-reference that for me. All right, let me think more seriously. How do I get out of this? I'm going to play queen to e5 because it's the only move that makes sense to me. It keeps pressure on the bishop, offers a queen trade, and I'll be up a pawn at the end of that exchange. All right, I was overthinking it. It was only rated 2,000. We get queen to e3. Wow, I love this position. Look at all these attacks. That is amazing. Sack my queen right now. Sack my queen right now. I love this position. Takes, takes, can't stop my checkmate. Or can you? Let me just make sure. Yeah, there's no legal checks. You take, I play check. Yeah, sack my queen. Take my queen, take my pieces, bishop a6 check. Ouch. Knight to d3. Looks like it covers everything. If I take back with the pawn is better, because if I take back with the bishop, queen to f3, rook goes bye-bye, and we don't want rook to go bye-bye. We want rook to go checkmate instead. Pick up the free queen, unstoppable checkmate. Queen all by herself on the side of the board, taking a poison pawn. I love to do this in games, give my opponents a poison pawn, and then take advantage of all my amazingly placed pieces, as they usually are, amazingly placed. Knight to f4 is interesting, hitting the bishop. Moving this knight is mildly interesting. Can I trap the queen? Also interesting. Maybe, no, knight to b6 doesn't work. He has too many pieces on that square. Oh, but I can play rook to a8, queen to c5. I guess I could just recapture the pawn. I guess that's good enough. I'm just really amused by how few squares this queen has to move to. I feel like rook to a8, queen to c5, b6, and where are you going to put your queen? You're not going to put it here because knight to f3 discovered check. So let's find out. Where are you going to put your... Oh, you are going to put it there. Then I'm going to have to graciously accept my free queen. Okay, we've moved Freddy the f-pawn. We've committed a horrible mistake. We dive in with the queen, and where's my checkmate? Let's see. Check here. Check back? Okay, so maybe takes instead. King here, and I just pick up the queen, I guess. Oh no, check and then knight to f3. Okay, which one of these is better? Okay, I guess this is better, because if knight to f3, I just take on e4 with checkmate. So takes. That's not better? Wait, is this not checkmate and I'm just totally crazy? No, it is. Oh, the king just moves back to e1, so it's definitely check. King to d3. What do I play here? Knight c6 and look for mate? Am I this blind right now? Oh, maybe it's just check and pick up the rook, I guess? It's not even picking up the rook. Okay. It's taking here, isn't it? How did I miss that? That's actually horrendous. That's horrendous. Yeah, we had forced mate and I didn't even notice it. All right, Moving right along, it's going to reset our streak. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, I guess it's because I asked for the solution on this puzzle. I'm not supposed to ask for the solution. Okay, back rank mate. Easy peasy. Moving along. Oh, I didn't even see its king for a second. King is over here, hanging out on the other side of the board while we get mauled by a pawn storm and some rooks. D5 is discovered check by the bishop. King moves out of the way. Take with check, and I just win a bishop. Cool, I'm happy with a free bishop. I take free bishops. King to E5 walks into mate. Nice. You actually see these in endgames pretty often. I've been victim of this kind of checkmate where the king is one of your most active pieces in the endgame. It's usually safer to come out, but big emphasis on the usually. Because if the king comes out to the center, walks into some pawns, maybe the king controlling a square, sometimes a piece can dive in and mate you right in the middle of the board. Oh, wait, did that say mate on the 7th? This categorization is kind of suspicious. It said mate on the 7th, and it was definitely mate on the 5th rank. Anyways, we get rook to E1. We have a very advanced pawn. So C2 is right away in my books, rook to C1, and then maybe knight to B4. And I have both of these squares to hit your rook. So C2, knight to B4. You can't cover both of these squares, but you can definitely give away a free rook, which I will definitely take, and then I'm just up a clean piece in the endgame. All right, bishop takes D6. Our queen is gone, but this diagonal is open. So check. Maybe knight covers, check. King moves over. I just pick up the queen. Thank you. But I always say thank you. And you know I mean it. All right, we're up a piece in that position. Nice. Bishop to D5. We're closing in on 50 puzzles. This would be 45 right here. This looks like forced mate somehow. Knight to D7. How are you going to stop me from mating you on B6? Trick question. You're not. Nice. All right, castle's always a good idea, especially when your king is in the middle and the board is open. We get discovered check, hitting the queen. Again, checks, captures, and attacks. We get a discovered check, picking up the free queen. Queen to C5. Look at how messy my pieces are. Disgusting. But all forgivable if we can find checkmate. Question is how? Right away, I get the sneaking suspicion that we're going to give check with the knight somehow and pick up the queen. Let's see. Check. It's the first one that comes to mind. King moves over. Sacrifice. King takes on F1. Rook to E1, and then we pick up the queen like this. Looks about right. So check. Nice. How is that rated 600? That's a 600 rating puzzle? Okay. Either these 600s are getting out of control, or this is a suspicious rating. All right, rook takes F7. Right away, this is back rank. We have check, check, remove the defender. Boom, boom. Checkmate. My favorite move in the whole game. Knight takes G5, opens up this file, and also puts the knight in a position where it's undefended and ready to be attacked. So I assume we have takes, check, king back, and knight can't go to F3 because the queen covers it. Nice. Take. Free knight. See, I would have classified that not as doubled rooks, like it said. I would have classified that as hanging pieces or undefended pieces. Rook is the only one defending the back rank, but I can take the rook by sacking my queen. Yes, please. I love sacrificing my queen. Bishop on G1 feels like it tempts. Whoops, what was that arrow? Let me restart that. It feels like it tempts rook to F1, but then we have queen to E8, mate, and your dreams are crushed. So instead, maybe we can sacrifice the queen, check, maybe too aggressive. How about bishop C5 instead? Undefensible. Bishop on G1. Any funny checks, I just move out of the way. I'm happy with that. Bishop C5. Take. I'll just take everything in my way all the way down until I reach the bishop. Nice. We have 45, 46, 47, 48, 49 puzzles done. We got one more puzzle to go. Let's play a good move. Check. King here. Take my rook. Queen to the back. King back up. I cry. I give away a free rook. All right. Checks, captures, and attacks. Check didn't work. So captures, we can take the rook. And then the rook is free. So check, and I pick up the free rook. Give me your free rooks, and then give me checkmate. All right, we've completed 50 puzzles. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next one.